Good morning, first graders. I hope you had a fantastic weekend. We will be beginning a new lesson this week in math. So if you remember last week, I told you we would be measuring the length and height of objects. And I said, if you have a ruler, go ahead and put that thing away because we will be measuring in non-standard units. So last week, I measured random items in my household with these cylinder blocks. We will be doing something different this week as we measure the length and height with metric units called centimeters. So if we look at a ruler, we will see where it says cm. That stands for centimeters. Centimeters is abbreviated with the letter cm. The opposite side of the ruler is inches, but we won't need that side for this week. So, looking at this, we can see that there are more numbers in the centimeter side than there is in the inches side. Why do you think that is? Yes, that's correct. There is more numbers on the centimeter side of the ruler than there is of the inches side because centimeters are smaller. So, that tells us when we measure in centimeters, we need to measure small objects. We measure small objects with centimeters to get a very accurate reading. And does anybody remember what should we do when we begin measuring an item? Raise your hands. Yes, you. Yes, good job. We make sure we line up the edge of the object with the 0. And for last week, we lined it up with the edge of my cylinder. So if we were measuring, say, this object right here, I would line up the two edges, make sure they're flat against each other, and then I would see how tall it was. We were doing the exact same thing, but this time we are using centimeters on a ruler. And we are using the metric unit, centimeters, for this week. So first, to get started on our lesson, to introduce you more and kind of give you a more of a deeper understanding of centimeters and measurement, we will watch a brain pop video.
Whoa, check it out! The smallest snake in the world is only about 10 centimeters long. What are centimeters? A centimeter is a unit of measurement. A pencil eraser is about 1 centimeter wide. When you measure, remember to line up the end of the item with the 0 on the ruler. Let's see. This book is 16 centimeters wide and 24 centimeters long. The abbreviation for centimeters is cm. You can use a ruler to measure small things, but it's easier to use a tape measure to measure bigger things. Let's see. The height of the table is 62 centimeters. The smallest horse in the world is only about 45 centimeters tall. That's smaller than many dogs. What are meters? 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeters. My arm span is about 1 meter long. Right, Moby, a baseball bat is about 1 meter long, too. You can use meters to measure taller, wider, or longer things. How wide is this bookshelf? Good idea. Let's use a meter stick to measure. The bookshelf is 2 meters wide. The width of the bookshelf is 2 meters. The abbreviation for meter is m. What is the width of the classroom? Our classroom is pretty big, so using a meter stick might be tricky. Good idea. Let's use a tape measure instead. The width of our classroom is 8 meters. The largest animal in the world is the blue whale. They can be about 33 meters long. That's about the same length as 3 buses. What are kilometers? 1 kilometer is equal to 1,000 meters. You can use kilometers to measure how far places are. On this map, 1 centimeter is equal to 1 kilometer. The museum is about 5 centimeters away from our school on the map. So, the museum is about 5 kilometers away. The abbreviation for kilometers is km. Distance is the measurement between 2 places or points. You can use kilometers to measure distances.
But would you use centimeters to measure distance? No, you wouldn't. We need to remember that centimeters are often used to measure little objects.
The Arctic tern migrates from the North Pole to the South Pole and back again. It migrates about 71,000 kilometers each year. You use kilometers to measure long distances. Remember, 100 centimeters is equal to 1 meter. 1,000 meters is equal to 1 kilometer. Centimeters, meters, and kilometers are units used in the metric system.
The metric system is the measurement system of science.
When you measure, think about what units you want to use. It doesn't make much sense to measure your height in kilometers. Moby!
Now that we've watched the video that teaches us about centimeters, meters, and kilometers, we can practice playing a game online. We will practice measuring objects to the nearest centimeter. And for now, we will only be playing in level 1. When we enter the game, we see that we drag this tool right here to help us get the correct measurement. Notice that the one edge of the object is lined up with the 0 on the measuring tool to get the most accurate measurement. So we need to make sure that it's always lined up at the 0 when we begin measuring. So I'll come over here and I'll drag this. When we measure, we want to make sure we get right at the edge. So that looks like it's the very edge of these scissors. So what is the measurement of these scissors? Is it 18 centimeters? Is it 15 centimeters? Is it 16 centimeters? Or is it 17 centimeters? Well, if we come up here, we follow our tool all the way back to the top, we will see that it is 16 centimeters. Let's check our answer.
Brilliant!
All right, our second object is up. Again, we need to make sure that it's lined up at the 0 to get the most accurate measurement. And I'll drag this down to help us get a very clear measurement. And whenever I line it up, I can follow this up to 11 centimeters. So I'll come down here and I'll find my 11 centimeters. There's 12 centimeters, 9 centimeters, 11 centimeters, 10 centimeters.
Well done.
Our third object, it looks like a glue stick. Again, we're making sure it's lined up at the 0 at the edge of the object. We'll drag this down again to get the closest to the edge as we can. And we'll follow this up here. We see that it lands at 12 centimeters. We'll come to our answer choices at the bottom. And here is 12 centimeters. Let's check our answer again.
Brilliant.
Now the next object looks like an eraser. Again, it starts at the 0. I'll drag this all the way down to the very edge of our object. It looks like it is 3 centimeters long. So I'll come down here again and look for my 3 centimeters.
Well done.
We have a pencil as our next object. Again, we make sure the very edge of this object is lined up at the 0 and the other edge of the object is where we're going to find the measurement. With the pencil, this point is the very tip. We don't want to measure over here or over here. We want to make sure to get the very tip of it. So that pencil looks like it's about 12 centimeters long. So we'll come down here and find 12 centimeters.
Well done.
We have another glue stick. Again, it's lined up at 0. We'll drag this icon down. Looks like it's 13 centimeters.
Well done.
This eraser looks a bit bigger than the other eraser we measured. Let's see how long it is. Again, we see that its edge is lined up at the 0 and the other edge reaches about 5 centimeters. So I'll come down here, find the 5 centimeters.
Brilliant.
We have another glue stick. Again, the edge is at the 0. Let's drag this icon to get a good measurement. We follow it up and it comes to 11 centimeters.
Well done.
We have a paintbrush now. So the edge of the paintbrush is lined up to 0 and we'll drag this icon to see just how long it is. And again, just like the pencil, you want to measure the very tip. You don't want to measure in here or down here. Get the very edge of all those bristles. And it looks like this paintbrush is
Excellent.
13 centimeters long. We have another pair of scissors. The point of the scissors is lined up at the 0. We'll drag this to the end. Looks like it's about 15 centimeters. So we'll come down here, look for 15, see if our answer is correct.
Brilliant.
And our last one, it looks like we have a marker or a highlighter of some sort. The very tip of the marker is lined up at the 0. You always need to remember that when you measure something, you line it up at the 0 to get the most accurate measurement. So we'll bring this little icon, we'll drag it over here and make sure you get every single point of the marker in here. So the very tip of it, the bottom of it, looks like it ends at 13 centimeters. So we'll come down here to our answer choices again and we'll look for the number 13 centimeters and let's check our answer.
Well done.
Okay, now that we've had a chance to work on this together as a class, what I need you to do is work independently on your own computer and you will be doing the exact same thing that we did together, which is measuring in centimeters. So you'll get your object, it'll be lined up from one edge to 0 and then on the other edge is what you need to find where it lines up to. So you'll drag your icon across to find what number it lines up with. Say it lines up with 15 centimeters. After you get that edge measured, you go down to your answer choices at the bottom of the screen and you find 15 centimeters. So you'll do a few of those. I'll say you can do about 15 of those. If you feel like those are too easy after doing all 15, you can come into level 2. Level 2 will be measuring to the nearest half centimeter. So this one is more than just 3, 4, 5, 6. You have answer choices down here like 2.5, 3.5, 2, and 3. In this case, this eraser is 3 centimeters, it looks like. Let's check.
Excellent.
Now let's measure this object and check. Oh, see, it does not line up at the 13. This one measures right in between the 13 and the 14. So that would put us at 13.5 centimeters, or the way it's written down here is 13.5 centimeters. So let's check our answer.
Brilliant.
So again, you can move on to level 2 if you feel like level 1 just seems a little bit too easy for you and you want to maybe challenge yourself with this. And if you are fine doing just level 1, then you do just level 1. You are not required to do level 2. But as you are working on this, I will be coming around checking to make sure that you're working, answering any questions you may have, and offering any help. If you need help, raise your hand and I will come to you. Great job, you guys. I'm very impressed. It seems like everyone's getting the hang of how to measure on this game. I love that you are all making sure that it's lined up at 0 and you're dragging your icon across and following it up to the number on the ruler and finding that number, whether it be 1 centimeter, 5 centimeters, or 8 centimeters, and then you're going to the bottom of your screen and selecting your correct answer. I will continue to walk around and monitor everyone. Oh, great job there. You're doing a great job at measuring. You've gotten all of them right as well. Keep working. I see you are having a little bit of trouble. Can I help you with this one? Well, I noticed that you're measuring a pencil, and when you're measuring this pencil, you're not measuring the point of the pencil. You're measuring the edge of the pencil. So whenever you measure a pencil, you need to make sure you get right at the edge. Don't measure back here. You need to get to the point of the pencil, no matter how sharp it is or how dull it is. So go ahead and line that icon up on your computer. Make sure it's at the very edge. Good job. Now that you've lined it up at the very edge of your pencil, follow the icon up to the number on the ruler. What number does it say? Yes, it does say 15 centimeters. So now let's go to the bottom of your screen, see if we find 15 centimeters. What are your answer choices? So which answer choice would it be? You're right, it would be the second one. So let's go ahead and click that second answer choice. Great job. Do you need any more help with your measuring? All right, I'll be walking around still. If you need any more help, please do not hesitate to raise your hand and I will come right back to you. I see that you went on to level 2. You decided you wanted to challenge yourself. Great job. What are you measuring right now? Scissors? Wow, so what is the length of the scissors on your screen? You think it's about 13.5 centimeters? Let's check. The only way we can find out is by moving that icon across the screen and lining it up to the very edge of our object. So let's go ahead and do that. Yes, good job. Okay, now that you've lined it up with the edge of your item, follow the icon up to the ruler and see what the number in centimeters it's on. You were right, it was 13.5 centimeters. So now we'll go down to our answer choices at the bottom of your screen and find 13.5 or 13.5 centimeters. 13.5 and 13.5 is the same thing here. So which answer choice do you think says 13.5 centimeters? Yes, excellent. Very proud of you. I'm proud that you were able to challenge yourself with this. So you really seem to be getting a hang of this. If you need any more help or you just want to show me something that you're working on, go ahead and raise your hand and I'll come back. But I will be walking around the classroom checking on everyone. Good job. Great job. All right, now I've had a chance to walk around and offer a little bit of help to some that needed it, check on others, and I was very impressed that some of you were able to go on to level 2 and challenge yourself. So now after we have, I'm hoping that everybody did at least 15 problems on this game. So once you've done about 15, go ahead and close your computer and put it back up in your desk. Thank you. So now you should have your desk clear. And what we are going to do next is work on a quick worksheet to again reinforce our measuring skills. So for now, you don't need any materials out. I'm just going to show you the paper and I'm going to explain it, and then we can do it together as a class. So here is the paper. It says, the frogs are hungry. Use a ruler to draw the length of each tongue to help the frogs catch their lunch. So we see that we have 4 frogs. And since this is a video, I will make it a little bit easier to hold up and write on by taping it to a board. So let me go ahead and get my tape dispenser out. And I will tape this onto this board. And it'll make it easier to see. Okay, so the first frog says, I see a fly 13 centimeters from me. What is one thing we must keep in mind whenever we begin measuring with a ruler? Raise your hands before I call on you. No blurting out. Yes, what would we do? Good job. Very proud of you. Yes, we would make sure that we, on our ruler, well, first of all, we make sure that we're in centimeters and not inches. But on our ruler, we make sure that we start measuring at the 0. So when you're at the 0, you get the most accurate measurement. So you'll line it up at the edge of the frog. So does anybody know where the edge of the frog would be? Raise your hand and I will call on you if I think you know the right answer. Yes, where is the edge of the frog? Yes, the edge of the frog, in the case of our worksheet, would be his mouth right there. We don't want to start measuring from his foot or from his leg or just some random area. So again, make sure your ruler is in centimeters. So what I would do is I would line up that 0 with the edge of the frog. So I lined it up and I will get my pencil. And how far away was the fly from the frog? Yes, he was 13 centimeters. So we'll come down here and we'll count across. Let's count together as a class. So he's lined up at 0, 1 centimeter, 2 centimeters, 3 centimeters, 4 centimeters, 5 centimeters, 6 centimeters, 7 centimeters, 8 centimeters, 9 centimeters, 10 centimeters, 11 centimeters, 12 centimeters, 13 centimeters. So what I would do is I would draw a line right at the 13. So now I can remove my ruler. I can see the distance from the frog to the fly that is 13 centimeters away. So now that I have my line drawn 13 centimeters away, I will now work on drawing my frog's tongue all the way over there. 13 centimeter long tongue. So I'll turn my board around for now so I can try to draw a tongue. Forgive me because I'm not a great artist, you guys. Okay, so I kind of just drew a tongue, but I made sure to make it all the way to this line. This line right here was the one that we measured with our ruler to 13 centimeters. So from the edge of his mouth all the way to that line was 13 centimeters. So now that I drew that 13 centimeter long tongue, I might just draw a bug in there. Let me draw a quick bug to show that that's what he was trying to get. So I drew the little bug. It's 13 centimeters away from the frog. Does anybody want to give it a try with this little frog right here? Raise your hand if you think you can do it. You can come up here and work on it in front of the class. Raise your hand. Okay, so you're up here with me now at the board in front of the entire classroom. Tell me the lunch, it says yum, lunch is only 6 centimeters away. So first, let's think. The first frog had his lunch 13 centimeters away. This frog's lunch is only 6 centimeters away. So whose lunch was the closest, or whose lunch will be the closest? Yes, that's right. The second frog's lunch seems like it will be closer because 6 centimeters is going to be less than 13 centimeters. Or at least that's our assumption. Let's go ahead and measure and find out. So since you called up here to volunteer, let's see if you can measure it. Where would I line up the edge of my ruler in centimeters? You're right, at the 0. And I will put it at the edge of my little frog's mouth. So you can do this for us. Good job. You line it up right at 0. And do you want to count how far away 6 centimeters is? All right, I'll point and you count them. 1 centimeter, 2 centimeter, 3 centimeter, 4 centimeter, 5 centimeter, 6 centimeter. Great job! 6 centimeters is right there. You can have a seat. Thank you for doing that. Now, so I drew our line at 6 centimeters for the second frog. So once again, I will be attempting to draw a tongue, a 6 centimeter long tongue. So let's see if we can get that on here. I'm not a great artist again, and I'm not really sure if that looks like a tongue. But it's 6 centimeters long, and our hypothesis was correct. The second frog's tongue was less than the first frog's tongue because it was a smaller number. So again, I will just add in a small little bug for his lunch. So I'll draw some eyes, some legs. So the first frog, his lunch was 13 centimeters away. The second frog, his lunch was 6 centimeters away. We were able to work on this together as a class. The first two, I will leave the bottom two up to you to work on your own. So I ask that you now get out your supplies. You will need a pencil, you will need a ruler, and I will have our helpers come around the classroom and pass out the papers. So I will leave this displayed up here for everyone to see as they work. And I will also be walking around as you practice measuring the distance away that their food is. If you need any help, please don't hesitate to raise your hand. You can even ask a neighbor for help if you think that will be okay. So our helpers, come get the papers and pass them out, please. And again, I need to remind you, whenever you get your paper, the first thing you should do is write your name so I know whose paper it is when you turn it in. And I made the mistake of not putting my name first, so I will add mine now. As our helpers are handing out the papers. Okay. So as the papers make their way to your desk, you're free to start as soon as you get it. And since we have these two done, we did them together, you can go ahead and copy these onto your paper. And as soon as you have that done, you can move on to the last two. And I will keep this displayed for you to see as you work on your own paper. And I will keep walking around and checking. Great job. I love how you kept it measured. When you started, you made sure the edge was lined up with the zero. That's exactly what you should do to make sure you get the most accurate measurement. I am very impressed with you guys. You are all totally getting this. Remember to line it up, the edge of the object. So in this case, it would be the frogs. So we'll line up the edge of the frog at 0, and then we'll count from there. So if it's 10 centimeters, remember you're going to count. The numbers are on there, so you'll count all the way to 10. Great job. Oh, make sure that it's lined up at the 0. The very edge of the frog has to line up to 0 centimeters. And then you can start counting. Because if you line up the edge of the frog on this side with 0, you're going to get not a very accurate measurement. It needs to be about this distance from this side, not from this side. Yeah, of course I can help you. So you get the 0 and you put it at the edge of the frog. You don't want to measure it from here because he wants to know how far away the fly is, not how far it is from the back of his body, but how far it is from his mouth because he's going to eat it. So the 0, and this fly says 10 centimeters away. So we'll line up the 0 with the edge of the frog and then we'll count to 10. Yes, so go ahead and count on your ruler as I hold it here and count to 10 centimeters. Good job. Now make sure you draw your line at 10 centimeters. Good job. Now that you drew your line, we can remove the ruler. Don't forget to draw the tongue. And if you want to, you can draw the bug. You don't have to draw the bug. I just wanted to draw the bug. All right. Looks like you got it now. If you need any more help, please raise your hand and I will come back to you. But I will keep walking around and checking everybody else too. Great job. Great job. All right, it looks like mostly everybody's finished doing their frogs. So let's come back together as a class and let's do some measuring. Let's check our work for the last two frogs. So this frog says there's a fly 10 centimeters away. So does anybody know what the first thing we would do is? Raise your hand. Yes, you. Yes, we would line up the edge of the frog at 0 centimeters and not the back edge because we're not measuring how far away it is from the back of the frog. We're measuring how far it is away from his tongue, from his mouth. So we'll line up the 0. Let me put this down here so it's a little bit easier for me to hold. So the 0 is lined up right at the edge of the frog's face. And since it's 10 centimeters, we will go ahead and count. Let's count together as a class. 1 centimeter, 2 centimeters, 3 centimeters, 4 centimeters, 5 centimeters, 6 centimeters, 7 centimeters, 8 centimeters, 9 centimeters, 10 centimeters. So now what do we do when we get to our 10 centimeters that the bug would be at? Raise your hand. Yes, you. We would draw our line at 10 centimeters. And now we can move our ruler away. So you'll see that I added in my line over there. So now I am free to draw my frog tongue that is 10 centimeters long. And again, remember guys, I'm not an artist. I'm trying my best for you. So here is my frog's 10 centimeter long tongue. Geez, that's a long tongue. But it's still not as long as our first frog's tongue. But it is longer than the second frog's tongue. So now that we drew his 10 centimeter tongue, I'll add a bug. So I will just add a cute little bug. For our last question, our last frog that we will be measuring, he looks like he has some webbed feet. This one says a fly is 3 centimeters away. It's mine. So what would the first step be in measuring the fly? Yes, we will line up the edge of his mouth with the 0 and not in the inches. I accidentally have mine in the inches. In centimeters, thank you. Thank you for reminding me that I needed to put it back in centimeters. So the edge of his mouth, I'll adjust my camera to make it a little bit easier to see. So the edge of my frog's mouth is at 0 centimeters. Hopefully you can see that. So 0, how far away was his lunch? Raise your hand and I will call on you. Yes, you. Yes, it was 3 centimeters away. So what will we do next? Yes, we'll go to the ruler and we'll count 3 centimeters. So let's count together as a class. We'll start at 0 with his mouth. 1 centimeter, 2 centimeters, 3 centimeters. So I'll go ahead and draw my line at 3 centimeters so I can move my ruler out of the way. So now that I have my line drawn for 3 centimeters, I will go ahead and draw my 3 centimeter long tongue. So there's his little tiny baby tongue. I say little tongue because he has the smallest tongue of all 4 frogs that we drew. Yes. So now that I drew his tongue, I will go ahead and draw in a bug for him. And there's his little lunch, his little fly. So now that we completed this paper, which frog had the longest tongue? Raise your hand. Yes, the first frog had the longest tongue. And what was the length of that frog's tongue? Yes, it was 13 centimeters. Great job. Which frog had the shortest tongue? Raise your hands. Yes, the last frog had the shortest length tongue. It was 3 centimeters. So now that you've had the opportunity to work together with me on the first 2 columns and you worked independently on the bottom 2 columns, then we came together as a class and checked our work, we can go ahead and put that up. Thank you for working so hard on that class. I'm very impressed with you. But now we will move on to the next activity so you can keep your rulers on your desk. We will be measuring different items from around the classroom, or in your case, your house. So when you measure things in centimeters, remember, as I mentioned before, as did the video that we watched, that when you measure in centimeters, it's usually for small objects. You wouldn't measure the distance from your house to the school in centimeters. That would be too many centimeters. That would be too big. So whenever we measure in centimeters, we like to keep it to small objects. So by saying that, I already picked out some small objects to measure from around my house. And so we will measure them, and then I will record my answers in a notebook so we can look at after and compare. So I will find a blank page in my notebook before I continue. So before we actually begin gathering the items that we're going to measure with, I want to make sure that you know that we are going to be measuring in centimeters and we're going to be writing down what we find in our notebook. But not only are we going to be writing it down, we're going to be drawing a realistic drawing of the item we measure. So if you happen to measure a flower from outside, you need to make sure that you draw the stem, the leaf, and the flower in your drawing. And then you need to draw how many centimeters long it is. So with that being said, I will get my first item that I'm going to measure. That will be a glue stick. So I will make sure the centimeters is on top. I will line up the edge of my glue stick at the 0. That's a little bit hard to see on video, but it's lined up at the 0 right here. And when it's lined up, I will come to this other side and see where the number comes to. I know it's a little bit difficult to see in a video. You can kind of see it there, but my glue stick measures exactly 8 centimeters. So now that I've measured my glue stick, I will get my pencil out and my notebook, and I will draw a glue stick. And I will look at my glue stick. I'll put it right on my counter so I can actually look at it. And I can draw a realistic representation of it. So I have a rectangle so far. I'll draw the end piece of it and then the lid. And then just to make it a little bit easier, I will just label it glue. because I don't need to write the name and all the labels on it. So I'll just call it glue, and then I will remember how long it was. It's 8 centimeters long. And if you remember, centimeters is abbreviated with cm. So you don't have to write the whole word centimeters, just cm. So I measured my glue stick. The next object I will measure is this small flashlight that I have. So again, I will get my ruler out. I will line it up with the 0, and it's hard to see in video, so I'll do my best. I'll put it actually on top of the ruler so it's a little bit easier to see versus above the ruler. Well, it might be easier above. We'll see. So if I line up the edge of my flashlight with 0, the other edge appears to reach 10 centimeters. So I'll put my flashlight back down and my ruler back down, and I'll go back to my notebook. And I'll keep my flashlight here so I can reference it when I'm drawing. It looks like one big rectangle, but then it has an opening in here. So, and then it has a logo on it. And again, you don't have to go into detail with the logo. So this part is the back of my flashlight. So it actually looks like this. Well, yeah, like this. And since it was bigger than my glue stick, it was 10 centimeters, remember? I drew it a little bit bigger than my glue stick to make it realistic. So my flashlight was 10 centimeters. Wow, that's a difference right there compared to my next object that I will be measuring. It is this tiny little octopus. He's actually a pencil topper, but he's not an eraser. But I will measure him because he's so teeny tiny, and we should be measuring small objects with centimeters. So I'll get my ruler in centimeters. I will actually be measuring him sideways because I want to know how long he is, not how wide his head is. So I will line up his little tentacles with the 0. And if I line him up with the 0, right there, it's a little bit hard to get a perfect. Okay, so I line him up with the 0. The edge of his head is very close to 2 centimeters. So I will put my little octopus back down. I will come back to my notebook and I will draw 2 centimeters or 2 centimeter sized octopus. And since my octopus was smaller than both my glue stick and my flashlight, I will draw a little one. And I'll draw him sideways as well since I measured him sideways. So I'll look at him as I draw. He has a little face. And he was 2 centimeters. So I have 3 objects measured so far. I have a glue stick that was 8 centimeters long, a flashlight that was 10 centimeters long, and a squid that was 2 centimeters long. And I can go on and on and on with different objects that are small to measure. You can measure any item from around the classroom or your house. Measure different items and make sure they're in centimeters. Make sure you line up the edge with 0 and you get it as close to the number as possible on the other edge, and that will give you the most accurate measurement. And then when you finish measuring it, you're going to come to your notebook and draw a realistic portrait of it. So you don't have to be a great artist, but just draw to the best of your ability. I want to know that you're trying. So draw it and then write the length of it right beside it. I will be walking around, making sure that you are accurately measuring by starting at the 0, lining up the edge with 0. I'll be offering help, and I will also be helping you find items to measure from around the classroom. As I'm walking around, I'm seeing some very great work. I'm very proud of you guys. You're working so hard, you're staying on task, and you guys all picked some very great items. Nobody picked items that were bigger than our ruler. That would have been silly. Everybody picked items that were easy to draw and easy to measure. Great job. That's a great item to measure. Make sure you're drawing your picture with it. And make sure when you're drawing your picture that you're also writing the length in centimeters beside it. And make sure you're labeling it with the unit. It's centimeters, not inches like last week. So I'll continue to walk around and check everyone's work. Great job. Oh, I see that you're having a little bit of trouble. Make sure the edge of the object you're measuring lines up with this 0. It's not the edge of the ruler, it's the 0. Let me help you. So you are measuring this paper clip. So you're not going to start measuring from the edge of the ruler. That wouldn't give you a very accurate measurement. That would give you 4 centimeters. So let's see what happens when we move it up to the 0. So the edge of the paper clip is with the line at 0. Now how many centimeters long is this paper clip? Great job! It is 5 centimeters. So see the difference that you get when you don't line up the edge of your object with the 0? Yes, you get 1 whole centimeter off. So you're wrong by 1 centimeter if you don't line it up at the 0. Try another object and I'll check to make sure if you are measuring it accurately. Oh, that's a good choice, a marker. So where would you line it up? Where would you line up the edge at on the ruler? Yes, good job with the 0. So it's at the 0. And then how many centimeters would that be? Yes, great job. It looks like it's about 14 centimeters. Looks like you're getting the hang of it now. Don't forget to write it in your notebook. Draw a realistic picture of it, the best of your ability. It doesn't have to be a perfect drawing. I'm not a great drawer. I'm not a great artist either. But I tried my best. And I know you can do it. So go ahead and draw your realistic picture and then label the length of your object. Make sure you get all your objects measured. You should not have more than 4 objects at your desk. If you have more than 4, pick the 4 that you want to measure. Good job. Very proud of you guys. After you've done about 4 items, or all of your 4 items, if you're on the 3rd item, you can go ahead and pause for a moment so you can hear my message. After you're done measuring all of your objects, whatever they may be, you can go ahead and put up your supplies, which would be your pencil, your ruler, your notebook, and your items that you measured. And we will continue this lesson throughout the week. So don't forget that we are measuring in centimeters this week and not in inches like last week. So go ahead and put up your materials and we'll move on to the next subject.